I get asked from time to time, don't you worry about living in Hawaii if the ships stop coming and you don't have stuff coming to the ports, all of the food and toilet paper and all that good stuff? I'm going to give you my thoughts on that coming up next. Hey, what's going on, friends? I periodically get asked from people that are thinking about moving to Hawaii or even that live here, hey, don't you worry that maybe one day the ships will stop coming, some economic crash or something like that, something terrible happens, and the boats that bring us all of our food and supplies and all the things that we live on stop coming. And I can tell you right up front, not something I worry about at all. And the main reason is, for that to happen, things have to be extremely bad, right? So people forget, okay, you may live in the mainland someplace or some big city, but if the ships stop coming here, that means they stop coming there, and something really bad is happening across the world, right? So if it's really bad here and that happens here, it's gonna happen everywhere. So what you need to ask yourself is, where do you wanna be when that happens, right? Because if you think being in LA or New York, you're gonna be better off than in Hawaii, I think you're wrong, and I'm gonna give you a couple of reasons why. The first one is, Hawaii has a ton of natural resources, right? We have all kinds of fruit trees growing all over the place. We have a lot of fresh water. Depending on where you live on the islands, there's a lot of streams and other fresh water sources in addition to regular rainfall. We have a ton of animals, small game, easily huntable animals like goats, pigs, sheep, chickens, lots of game birds. There's lots of things that you can survive off of, and I would argue Hawaii is probably an easier place to survive like that than anywhere else. And you're definitely not going to have a lot of those natural resources in a desert, in a place where it gets really cold in the winter, which leads me to my second reason, is the weather is great here, right? So in Hawaii, you don't have to worry about a harsh winter, a super hot summer. The weather is pretty much the same all year round. And so it's an easy place to live. You don't have to worry about heating, cooling. You don't have to worry about things not growing or animals not being around in a harsh winter. It's a much easier place from an environment standpoint to survive in than anywhere else if things got really bad, right? And then that leads me to my third reason, and that's the culture. And that's probably the most important one, is you got to think about where you live and what is the culture of the people around you in where you live. And I can tell you, one of the best things about Hawaii is that we just have a culture. We have an island culture that has stemmed from the native Hawaiians who had to live here on their own many years before other populations got here. And that's the culture, is we just take care of each other. This is a place where we look out for each other. We're gonna care for our elders and our young and our neighbors, and I just think that doesn't exist in most places, especially in a densely populated city. And so if you are of a vulnerable population, I think you would have a better chance surviving here amongst a culture of people who have that mentality versus somewhere else. And so you really got to think, okay, if I live in a big city with 5 million people and things get bad and there's no food and there's no resources and there's no just stuff coming, all the creature comforts that we have, is that where you want to be? You think you're going to be better off in a densely populated city? I would argue you're not. It's going to be complete chaos, and it's not going to be someplace you want to be. So this is not a topic we want to talk about necessarily all the time, but when I get this question, I always feel like I got to put the answer out there and give people a different perspective, because I really think that perspective of living on an island and not having deliveries to the island and as a reason not to live here is really misguided. And it's there's a lot of different perspectives that you can look at, and me personally, there's no place I would rather be if I have to live off the land than in Hawaii. So if you disagree, put them in the comments, or I'd love to have a discussion with you. You can book a meeting at the link below, or you can email me at dylan@bybigisland.com. I'll see you guys next week. Aloha.